Alrighty, well, I'm out here after a fairly hot day. It got over 95 Fahrenheit with the little putty. Just want to talk about the man in the fairy meadow, or the man formerly of the fairy meadow. Many of you know as TR. Have a look at this little character. There's a lot of different kinds of spiders around here. I don't know why. Many varieties. And his tactics that he has for creating drama and, befriending people, using them, and then sort of using British Empire divide and contact tactics to try and stop people forming a group to work against him, which inevitably doesn't work. I've had people who sometimes look at these videos that I've made about the guy and, some of his crap, and they, you don't know anything, you're just a troll, this, that, and that. Fucking bullshit. The guy has been in this house right here, which would happen to be my cottage. He's come here. I've met him in person. I've stayed at the same places he's been at. Everything like this, But he makes a great tactic of trying to delete any videos that included me to try and pretend that nothing ever happened and I'm just some random idiot who's never met him in person. And at the time, I was one of very few who had met him in person, very, very few. And really the situation is that a lot of his videos when he was in Australia have since been deleted. But there's a few that he forgot. And I'm not going to go putting links to those because I don't want him deleting them. Now, I've seen his tactic when he come over here in Australia. He basically uses his view counts and his large amount of subscribers to encourage other people to kiss his ass. And he basically said to me in a day which never made it on video that I can recruit or encourage people to have a look at my channel through his comments, but don't flame and say you've got it better than him. Don't say that his one isn't as good or that he's not doing it right. You've just got to say, well, I've got something similar or mine's an alternative, but it's never better than him. I can't outrank him. Otherwise, I would have been blocked. And, in due course, I had quite a few people sort of, watch my stuff, especially after I ended up, on some of his videos and whatnot. Intriguingly enough, he's got a method, though, of keeping people separate that stops people from coming together and joining up to fight against him, which is much the same way as the British Empire's divide and conquer tactics. And what it basically is you try to be mates with everyone and have everyone kissing your ass because they want a piece of your action, a piece of what you got, whether it's subscribers, views, or in the case of the British Empire, money. And with all this, people wanting to associate with you and your money and your military force and your influence, they all sort of come and want a piece of the action. But in essence, they don't really get it. They just get fucked for everything they've got, and the British Empire gets stronger while the people who come to them for advantages essentially lost out. And that's why the majority of people in the British Empire, more than 75% of them, I think only basically would have earned the equivalent of about $6,000 or $7,000 a year, because it was really based on enriching the already wealthy in the British Empire. And yeah, it was similar sort of idea and similar sort of tactic. And well, the trouble is I know a little bit about British Empire history. So long and short of it, what he'd do, just as the British Empire would, he'd sort of instigate things to keep people separated, like the whole divide thing. And then once you've divided everybody, they won't form a force against you because they're all pissed off at each other. They're all separated. And the Troy tactic was to basically bullshit in people's ear about this other person. So he's sitting there pretending he's mates with me, but at the same time he's telling me that Seeds to Freedom is a self-confessed wizard/witch. And you don't want to associate with him, otherwise, you know, you're a church person, Link, and you don't want to associate with witchcraft. And that was basically it. Later I found that he was telling other people that I don't work and my mum pays for everything. And it was to make me look like a lazy bastard who was getting nowhere. In fact, it couldn't be further from the truth, because my mum didn't work and she didn't get a pension either, so where was her money coming from? In fact, it actually sounded a lot like Troy himself. He didn't work, and his mum does bail him out quite a bit. But this is sort of the crap this guy'd use. And of course, nothing's changed. And he also knows that drama brings in views. And if you ever wondered about things, yes, he has talked to that angry man with the cat called Jax, and yeah, he did mention that he'd talk to him in due course of some of his troll problems, and I'm sure that the short man with the fat cat would have told him that well, if you create more drama, it's going to help your view count. So now he's coming out with a big waffle on, you know, how the the girl with an anchor baby is going to be deported. Well, that's funny, because girls with anchor babies don't get deported, no matter who the father is, no matter if the father's even Mexican. Just like that girl who jumped over the wall one day before giving birth found out. And if you've seen video of the girl, trust me, she wouldn't have made it as a mail order bride. Oh, ho, ho. No way. She was not a stunner, put it like that. And, you know, here he is claiming the same thing about his wife or whatever her status is now, and his 14-year-old daughter. If you looked at that, if you watched it, which I didn't, I watched a parody that included the audio, and he said 14-year-old daughter. Bit of a Freudian slip there. There was once a theory that all his talk about military service was actually that of his wife, that he had once previously, and he had a daughter to that wife. I don't think that's necessarily true. I think that may well be a rumour, but you sort of wonder sometimes when you get Freudian slips like that. Anyway, he's going on and on and on and hammering on and call the media, do this, do that, blah, 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 blah. He just needs a bit more limelight because he's flailing. Needs to play the victim, because that seems to be the way things are going these days, that everybody wants to play the victim. It's a social justice warrior thing. Oh, maybe they'll look at him. Doesn't this remind you a little bit of something? like Gamergate, like all those unnamed, unknown trolls that are getting at this girl, blah, blah, blah. But strangely enough, nobody could track down. And they believe it was actually her sending shit-can, nasty-ass messages to herself to then claim, poor me, and it got her a job in Twitter headquarters after she trolled herself, then played the victim. Is this sounding a little bit like something? Oh, the girl with an anchor baby, who can't be deported, is going to be deported. And I am trolled by thousands upon thousands upon thousands, and I've... Oh, here we go. So what you're saying is, you spend a lot of time trolling yourself from free Wi-Fi connections, do you? Oh, fuck. I'm not saying that's necessarily the case. As has happened before, I believe the guy may be facing some sort of an uprising against his lies and bullshit and manipulations and all the other divide and conquer narcissism tactics that are going on. Because, you can only hide who you really are for so long. Whether it's trying to impress a mother-in-law or a father-in-law, or people who may be potentially mother-in-law or father-in-law, or a boss at a workplace where you aren't actually qualified to do the job, or you can only bullshit to people for so long. And maybe that fuse is burning out. And all he's got left now is drama. Not living off grid. Not this, not that. His lies have been exposed. The trolls have got in there and exposed all his bullshit so well that basically the clock is ticking and the fuse is just about burnt to the end, and he's going to have to go and get a job.